All right, thank you, fellas, and welcome back to part two of our SPDL 2025 draft breakdown. We are on the latter half of the 32 player roster now, and I am once again accompanied by league staff Jacob.
Hello.
All right, and we're excited to keep going. We're gonna try and get through this one maybe a little bit more brisk, but I do think that we're still gonna end up with a lot to say because we love seeing these teams, and there's lots of stuff to be called out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's over 300 Pokemon. With about 300 Pokemon drafted, it's there's a lot of everything really.
Absolutely. So first on our second run here, we have the Iki Town Avengers, who is ran by Fisherman Pincone. I know his Discord says Pinecone. I think somebody goofed that, but Pincone. Um,
Mhm.
I believe this is his second draft with us. The first draft was the the monotype Monopoly rerun, and he was our
Mhm.
flying coach. And I think that first league for him was quite impactful and very good for him because it has inspired the first pick to be Shaman Sky. Really big fan of Shaman Sky. Um, Serene Grace sets and whatnot with those with crazy strong special attack and high speed. That thing is definitely a whole unit on its own.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a strong first pick, a strong first pick, and really just two absolute uh, unga bunga physical attack monsters in the back to support it with Dracovish and Galarian Darmanitan. Obviously, I think Darmanitan isn't at like full. I don't think it's at full power. Is he? Does this thing have Guerrilla Tactics?
I do believe it. I do believe
It
it
does.
is. I believe
Okay.
that with this SPDL, the only things that were banned. Excuse me. I'm going to actually thumb over to the rule set. Yeah, banned abilities, power construct. We just kind of nerfed. We kneecap crushed Zygarde, and any sort of evasion boosting abilities like Sand Veil and
Mhm.
Ice Veil and what or Snow Veil and whatnot. Stuff like that is
All
banned,
right.
but everything else is pretty much on the table.
That was my assumption, just because Dracovish and Darmanitan are both at 18, so I imagine they have their respective things that make them broken. Darmanitan having Guerrilla Tactics and Dracovish having Vicious Turn. So it's kind of like it is a Pinco's team definitely will raise that sort of like exclamation point into prep where you're kind of sitting there and it's like okay, did I draft? Does my team have an answer to this? If so, cool. If not, if Pinco notices that hey Dracovish cleans this team up or Darmanitan cleans this team up, uh, that could lead to some really not only just wins, but we've seen time and time again that differential means a lot in especially in a playoff race. So you be able to like having the potential with Dragovich and Darmanitan two different ways to like potentially just open up a fight and get a 5-0 or 6-0 win can really carry a lot of weight, especially when it gets down to who makes playoffs and who doesn't.
Absolutely, and both his big heavy hitters in Drakefish and Galarian Darmanitan, while they would love to have rain set up for the offense on Drakefish and the snow set up to keep Darmanitan around, I think that he's got a pretty solid defensive core with Florges and Aegislash. Florges there to sponge up special hits, and Aegislash there to really soften the blow on the things that will switch in for Florges with its poison immunity and its steel resistance. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can't count out Aegislash too. While it may be one of those slow mons, it's one of those Pokemon that like you don't need to think too hard on it. It is one of those things that benefits really greatly from its disposition, like it being slow and offensively heavy. It's pretty much always going to go second and get use out of its shield change. Um,
Right.
and unless he's really gung ho on sending the shadow sneaks, but King's Shield is such a very nice move to slow down a game. And
Yeah, I mean this team is nuts. I see my conference. Hold on, I need to look. Uh,
which conference is he in?
I'm we're I know. I mean, you and I are in Z.
Let's take a look.
Does
See,
I don't see it in
he's in
here.
Conference A. He's in
All
Conference
right,
A.
sick. I don't got to worry about it then.
Yeah.
That's somebody else. That's somebody else is getting fishes rendered 6 times. That's not even me.
Nobody
You know
loves
that's
being
fine.
Fisher's Red 6 times, but we're it has a very cool, unique stab combo, and there are definitely some things to switch in on it. But it's a Pokemon that is going to definitely require. It's going to demand attention. It's
Mhm.
going to demand attention, and having to contend with stuff like Shaman Sky there to cover for the defenses on the Dracovish. Pincone's going to have a really tough team to prepare and especially to play against.
Yeah, I think if you can break that wall, then I think there is a clear path to victory. But it's kind of like it's just he's throwing out haymakers from the beginning, and you just have to make sure that you can come out of the other side alive. Because yeah, with a combo like that, you may very well not.
Absolutely. And before we move on, I have to call out personally. I would say that my personal favorites of this draft are actually that Regieleki Nihilego combo in the middle. I think those are both very 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 solid mons, and Regieleki being the fastest mon in the game for some of the fastest hazard clearing as well as volt pivots. Definitely
Mhm.
something that's going to be tough like to hold down, even if it does land on webs or something. And it has screen support. It's definitely a really solid support mon. It has a very strong, albeit nerfed, transistor ability, and it could still put out some decent offensive pressure with that. I think it's what, like base 100 special attack, but really solid on the support side. And Nihilego is one of those ultra beasts that can really get out of hand quickly. Especially, it has a very close and comparable special attack and speed stat. So depending on how Pincone wants to go, he can start running away with either extremely fast, ramping up speed on a decently strong Nihilego, or he can even run stuff that'll boost his special attack as he goes with like a +1 speed or whatnot. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next up is going to be the Reflection Cave Stun Seed from Super Nerd John. Now he's a fun player. He there's always some sort of pun, a little bit unsavory when it comes to his teams, but that's the fun. That's the fun of having Super Nerd John in your league. And
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's back in another one with reflection case sunseed is a I couldn't have thought of something like that for sure.
what's fun too is when you see John in the registrants and you go, what's he cooking? What
Mm-hmm.
what is coming? And then sometimes it's something you just don't get right away. And I kind of feel roughly the same way with his actual draft. He's last year he showed up at the SPDL 2025, and he had a decent balance score as well. The most I remember is seeing a lot of that Aegislash last year. A good
Mm-hmm.
show of display of what Aegislash can do. He definitely has his defensive core in mind here. I would say a lot of the the Petulant Corviknight Clefable trio is quite strong.
Yeah,
I enjoy
absolutely.
the utility that they have to offer, and the general pace slowdown, especially with Clefable if it's unaware, and Corviknight's ridiculous bulk.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, he had a really strong SPDL 24 to tying uh, placed second in his conference, tied for the best record in the entire league. Him and Island Cone and Matt both went 10-2 in
Ooh.
their leagues. Unfortunately, I believe John got bounced a little, not first round in the playoffs, but did unfortunately not make it to the Elite Four as a top seed. But that's
Actually, I think Super Nerd John is one of our Elite Four.
was he?
Yeah, I remember. If I'm
Uh,
not mistaken, he was eventually stopped in the. I think he made it
Oh no, you're right.
through.
He won this one, and then he did. I'm reading this bracket entirely incorrectly. He made it to the. What was he? He was the Seed Swallowers, I think. In that, yeah, he was the Seed
Yes.
Swallowers. So he got all the way to the consolation finals.
Yeah, and I
Lost the
believe it
consolation
was
finals to Knuckle City.
last year. I think it was to Jaffe. I don't believe the Knuckle City Hoodlums played last year.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the Knuckle. It wasn't the Hoodlums.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the name that I'm not going to try to say on a recording.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Those knights, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. Well, also,
So,
just as a very, it's very, very small aside for those who are watching a little bit unfamiliar, especially the newer players who were floated into our server and are watching. When we mentioned the Elite Four and the champions and whatnot, out of our every year with these big leagues, with this server's very first big league called the Big League (TBL), and the subsequent 2 years, last year and this year being the SPDL for the Silv Premier Draft League, the final contestants um, from um, from the bracket, the absolute top champion winner gets the exclusive champion role, and then the four follow ups, that being the three semifinalists and the fourth one winning the consolation Elite Four. They'll become the Elite Four. They're basically our top five players who distinguished themselves in the whole server during the big league that mattered. And while we have
mhm.
plenty of draft leagues throughout the year, eyes are on the big league, biggest prizes, biggest competition. And so, we have a little bit of flair that's exclusive to those who popped out during our most substantial league of the year.
No, absolutely. And like I said, John's big thing is that he does bring he does cook with his preps. He really he comes in with some crazy sets, some interesting synergies that a lot of people would kind of miss on their first glance through the team. So I imagine he's going to terrorize quite a few people this time around.
Absolutely. My eyes are actually on. I am. There were a couple of Pokemon that I wanted from his draft during my prep phase. Clefable is a really strong. I know I've mentioned it for unaware, but it's just good bulk. Saw solid mono fairy for the particular resistances, and Magic Guard is also really good for bringing this thing in and kind of doing some chip life orb boosted moonblasts and whatnot. It also has good bulk and recovery. I'm also really interested in Flygon. Um, Looking over, considering the spread out power level of this league, and there being when you're looking at a lot of Pokemon, you kind of look for I believe you kind of look for little small, like finding. Sorry, the words are not coming to me, but you're looking for little small diamonds in the rough, like the things that do very niche things that might not be looked at very well, like Flygon with its dual typing, the Garchomp predecessor there, but it has Levitate and stuff like that. It has all sorts of really neat tools, cool priority and stuff like that, and I'm actually just really excited to see what it can do.
Yeah, I mean, I have full faith John's going to be a threat in his conference. So we'll see if he can make it back to back this year.
Yep, yep, yep. Next up is the White Forest Master of Shuppets from our dearly beloved gambler Rafe Stratton. I really want to say that his first league was also our SPDL 24, and
Mm-hmm.
he last year he commented that he had a theme, and he really enjoys building themes to his team. I think this year though, I think this year he decided that he just wants to try as hard as he can. A theme would be great, but you want to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the goal, right? Especially since the stakes are a little higher in SPDLs. I mean, I think he's put himself together a probably the thickest team we've looked at so far. Like his first gouging fire being, of course, not a big offensive threat. It was my ace in SPDL 24, but like outside, you've got Tapu Lele, who is a big old girl. Rotom Wash is your classic like bulky offensive pivot. Chansey is Chansey. Mega Aggron has infinity defense.
Oh yeah,
So I mean, it's going to be Stratton's team this year is going to be a tough nut to crack.
yeah, yeah. Some Pokemon that I'd love to call some attention to. He Rafe has used Tapu Lele in the past before, really, and on top of it being thick and having its unique defenses in the Psychic Fairy, it's really strong. It benefits greatly from its terrain, and it has really strong stab coverage that really lends to its strength, and it stops priority. So no sucker punches, no first impressions, nothing like that will really be able to touch her or slow her down while her terrain's on the field. And
Mm-hmm.
A couple other Pokemon of attention. Mega Aggron with its filter, definitely going to be a tough one. And you can't Toxic Stall this one with its Mono Steel. It sheds one of its weaknesses. It sheds weaknesses from dropping its Rock typing.
Hmm.
Alolan Muck is a Pokemon that he has used in the past before, and he's really strong with that Pokemon. Really enjoying seeing Delmise. I think Delmise has popped up here and there across the boards. It has such unique tools with its Grass Ghost, a pseudo stab that it's given, as well as rapid spin and recovery. It won the bottom barrel league. It popped out in the League of Altered Abilities and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, really interesting stuff. I know. I think this is a very well-rounded team.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think this team is super bulky. This team is in it for the long run, and they're just gonna, you know, I think you've got solid answers to a lot of the main offensive threats. From there, it's just kind of in Stratton's hands, taking that, piloting it, and leading it to victory.
Absolutely. Next up is the Viridian Forest Electric Rodents, run by Team Rocket Grunt Chafee. He is the champion from the very first big league, the 2023 year, only to be surpassed by Stoic last year.
Yeah. So
Chafee Chafee is one of
yeah.
those players who he knows his style. He knows what he wants in a draft, and he he plays his style very well. As you can as is evident, especially in this draft here with the Blissey and the Mega Slowbro and even the Togekiss. Chafee enjoys his slower, bulky teams with a little bit of stall pressure, and he while he may have only eight Pokemon, he has a really strong core.
Yeah, this is a pretty compact eight. You've got your offensive threats in Blaziken and Genesect, like you said, a really great potential stall core with the Slowbro and the Blissey. And even in, like, you've got wall breakers in the back, like Circuitry, who maybe there's a a threat that somehow Slowbro that can potentially break through Slowbro and Blissey, or maybe is the an equivalent wall to this team. Circuitry can come in with its massive attack set, drop a couple big thunderbolts, and call it good. And then of course the Claydol there. I think always a really undervalued mon. Pretty decent typing, access to a lot of really good utility moves. It's a really really good budget pick that I think gives this team a nice secondary support option outside of the bulk that he's drafted.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm really excited to see what he does. Mostly, like how he decides to work with the um the breaking core that he has. Genesect. Genesect's last big pop out was our monotype league, and it was one of the strongest threats there, largely because this Pokemon has really really good stats, and download is really great for immediate sweep pressure, and it has good mixed coverage in general. It's one of those Pokemon
Mhm.
that's a little bit tougher to prep for, and really handy in the hands of Jaffe, who that Pokemon will lend him strengths in whichever he's missing. Like if he decides that Mega Blaziken and maybe Hydreigon really need to come, the Genesect can sit in the back and be a special offense. And speaking of the Zerkatry was I believe a buyer's remorse pick. He cleared out the plethora of mons that he had, and Zerkatry is the reason that he has an 8 point draft or an 8 mon draft. And he sees a lot of faith in this Pokemon, it seems. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what it can do. I've honestly one of those Pokemon that I haven't seen more juiced stats on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's usually kind of just like uh, just hasn't gotten a real chance to shine in any particular league. So it'll be interesting to see now that he's sort of quote unquote unleashed what he can do.
Absolutely. And very briefly, calling attention to it, looking over the original drafts that we had, he's one of our only players who has more than one Mega Pokemon, and with only one Pokemon, or excuse me, only one Mega being allowed in the match, that gives some versatility to him, where sometimes you just might even need to pack both stones and then just kind of go where the match takes you. Or
Yeah,
Slowbro might be one of those pivotal pieces in a defensive matchup where the Slowborite may not come. Maybe he needs a rocky helmet or whatnot. And then it's all Blaziken's show.
right, absolutely, and that's I think the interesting part is just because I think there was one other team we've covered so far that has double megas, which I think was the Black City Thrillers, but they're Pokemon who at least like for guard like would hit with the Thrillers with Garchomp and with JP's
Oh,
team here, both Blaziken and Slowbro are fantastic Pokemon on their own. There's some megas who are kind of pretty underwhelming when you take away the stone from them compared to how much they're costed. So being able to have that flexibility of like, you don't know if this thing is packing a stone or not until it does the thing. So that could be a great kind of mental game to play in your matches.
absolutely. And yeah, thanks for calling that one back to attention. There's actually a little bit more coaches than I thought. We have the Garchomp Charizard Y, we have the Pinsir and Lucario, and we have what was it, Gyarados and Pidgeot. So those matchups especially, I think that the guessing game of Megastone is going to be really handy.
Yeah, for
Also, a
sure,
really
for sure.
exciting thing about this league, as far as multi megas, immune to knockoff. Knockoff is a really horrible. It's a horrible feeling move to switch in on, but there's a little bit of a safety net with the mega Pokemon, unable for your Mega Stone to be knocked off, and subsequently you're not receiving the damage and whatnot. And while that may be an information game for the opponents for whoever has multiple megas, that's just still kind of value.
Yeah. Oh, I agree, 100%. We'll see. We'll see. Because this is the first time in a long time that all megas have been legal. So seeing how much a mega can or can't influence a game, I think will open a lot of people's eyes as we march through.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see if Jaffe can pull back his champion title, or continue holding down his Elite Four position. Next up, we have the Lost Hotel Time Hoppers, who is piloted by our Girl in Love random name. Random name is really cool. He's participated in a few leagues so far. I really want to say he actually showed up as a filler for last year's SPDL as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was gifted a team, and while he may not have got a satisfactory finish, he still did really good for what he had coming off the tail end. And we've seen him across the monotype monopoly, and we've seen him across the bottom barrel, and he's got a really unique play style to him. So
Yeah, he's another one that kind of like enjoys the because obviously our format is best of one, so it can kind of it is kind of a brewer's paradise, so to speak, in that you can like um, whereas a lot more of these unique and interesting sets are a little bit less powerful in situations where you may run like a best of three or something like that, but in a best of one, being able to like really kind of bring out the potential of all your Pokemon and can take you really far, especially if you bring something that's pretty unexpected. That can probably net you at worst like a KO or at best a win. And we were just talking about drafting multiple megas, and Random Name has three on their team between the Blastoise, the Gallade, and the Venusaur. So a lot to do there. The Venusaur, a surprising bulk option, of course, getting thick fat upon evolution, and then couple that with two other defensive stalwarts like Garganackle and Incineroar. Like you're looking at a pretty sturdy team that can clear the way for the other two megas. Whichever mega he decides to bring, I guess he technically can't have Gallade and Blastoise, but whichever one is sitting in the back ready to abuse their good abilities is going to be there.
absolutely, and he honestly lucked out for being in position 21 and being able to net Mega Blastoise. Mega Blastoise probably one of the megas that got the most multi generational. I would say multi generational love here, but it got some of the thickest buffs in regular Blastoise getting Shell Smash in I think Gen 8. So this thing having the defenses it does for it to be able to sponge a hit in and out of Mega, as well as
Mhm.
having that double speed pressure, and then having crazy stuff like really super boosted surfs or even water spouts, or like dark pulses being buffed from its Mega Launcher. And the Gallade's a really cool pick too. While I do believe Gallade as a Mega would love to see a change in its ability from inner focus to sharpness. This thing has really good stats, and inner focus is not a bad ability at all. But you're going to resist getting fake outed. You're going to resist getting intimidated, which is going to be a really big boon for him if that's his game plan, and his opponents feel like their only option is to slow it down with intimidate. It
Mhm.
gets really strong moves in Sacred Sword, Close Combat, Psycho Cut. Like it's pretty good. It's pretty good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he pulls off, because he has a lot of bulk and recovery to his team. Excuse me, and I do think that while it's not necessarily like a dedicated stall, I do think that that pseudo stall is going to really slow down his opponents, because he's got such thick mons on the board.
Yeah, he really does. But I mean, that's part of what brings, I think, a good balance to this team is the fact that he's got not only like solid bulk, but solid bulk across a lot of different types of answers. Even some of his like the back half of his draft with Gudra and Palisand, stuff like that are kind of bulky in their own unique ways. Gudra's an amazing assault S user, and Palisand carrying that. You know, can be a kind of a check. Having a ghost immunity, being able to check water types and things like that is pretty devious to say the least.
Absolutely, I'm super looking forward to seeing what he pulls off on this in this league here. Next up, we have the Pony Island Pocket Sand. And Flameburst here is a newer player in our server. He has joined us from I guess we're getting a little bit closer to a friendly server who we're acquainted with, the Indigo server. Our originating member from the Indigo Draft League circuit is Delta, who invited a lot of new players, a lot of new faces into this draft league, and um, a lot of unknown players and a lot of unknown factors, and really exciting for the competition. Before we get into Flameburst Draft, like just go ahead and shout out Indigo. They're really cool. They're really swell. They bring, as far as I've seen, some really cool creativity to the draft league style, with really creative sets, really fun nicknames, and just overall they have good vibes and good energy to them. And I do think that the old guard of our server and the active competitors that we have are really going to want to hold their grounds against the new players who are also looking to show off their inventive stuff against us.
No, absolutely. They also kind of come out and stated that they have kind of factioned up across the two leagues. They're gonna I think work together to try and sort of a pseudo invasion of go in and try to see if they can take the SPDL crown for I guess Team Indigo, for lack of a better term. But these guys the Indigo crew definitely, they sit together. They cook a lot. They work on each other's sets. They mock battle each other a lot of the time. So they're gonna know their teams well, and they're gonna know um, kind of the extent of what they can bring to the table. So from there, it's just kind of putting pen to pad and making the run. And this is a really solid stack he's got here going. The Faramosa Megalodios to start off his offensive core, and then back to back on Hisui and Gudra Skarmory to kind of continue that. I mean, this is just a pretty solid sort of mixed offense team.
Absolutely, absolutely. Seen crazy things from Pheromosa in the past before. She might be really frail, but she has really strong stats in both the offenses and the special attack. And nobody wants to be kicked to death by the Pheromosa, but you never know. That really fast bug buzz may come and really throw a team off as well. I really
Mm-hmm.
like I'm unfamiliar with Flameburst and his playstyle, so looking at everything here, just general vibes is the general strength of what these teams can do. Like obviously you have web support and volt switch pivots on Galvantula, being one of the faster web setters. Zoroark's
Mhm.
really nice for the surprise in the back. And Skarmory is a really sturdy wall there with having insane high defenses with roosts and hazards, and the occasional sword stance sweeping sets which you see once in a while with with weak armor. There's lots of versatility to this team. And
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, I was gonna say I looking at this team, it seems all glued together. It seems like this team is really weaved together. Between like the synergies that each of the Pokemon have and whatnot, so definitely gonna be a tougher one to play against. But really strong defenses.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like I said. I think you kind of put it together. This seems pretty balanced. It's got a lot of ways that it got a lot. It's got a lot of ways that are going to hit you hard. It's just a matter of like knowing what direction Flame versus, or even not knowing, but kind of like making an educated guess as to where Flame versus is going to take the team that particular week and trying your best to match them. So we'll see. The first of our big stock of Indigo guys that we'll have to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Next up is also another player from the Indigo circuit. This is Team Skull Boss SHG, shorthand for Straw Hat Zelda. He's repping the Viridian City Venusaurs here. Really liking his draft. Really liking his draft. Dragonite is the first pick. It's really fun. It's got great stats. Generally, it's kind of been reliable and sturdy across the years. Having that multi-scale buff and later generations and whatnot really helps it set up and just kind of even play more supporting roles. Really good mixed stats and whatnot with a really deep move pool. Strong hurricanes and surfs in certain matchups, and really strong outrages and extreme speeds with some Dragon Dance sets. Lots of
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna say just
no, no, you're
lots
good.
of
No, you're
heavy
good.
hitters in general. The Megalopody's really cool with that scrappy like fake out and close combat and whatnot. Like ghost types are really gonna not enjoy existing in front of a Lopunny, especially because of that ability to be hit by her. Scrappy also getting buffed in later generations to resist intimidate too. I feel like this draft league is gonna be it's gonna be it's gonna be a little bit more of a chore and a tall order to really narrow down and stop some of these physically threatening mons, because the physical pool has definitely been stretched thin with the amount
Uh
of
huh.
players.
Yeah, I mean, what I see at this team is, and I personally kind of like teams like this where it's uh, the he's probably going to be bringing uh, a pretty similar like 4 or 5 mons to every match because the core is just that kind of tight and that powerful, and then just kind of using the back half of this draft to fill in the gaps and serve their purposes as they need to. So like obviously on one hand, you're not going to really there's not as much I would say like um, variables that could come out from a team from a draft like this. Like each Pokemon has a designated job that they do super well. That going into a fight with them that they're going to do super well. The problem is, which can I guess in theory not necessarily that make you quote unquote simpler to plan against, but conversely because they're all so good at their job, they kind of demand an answer, right? So, and not every team in a 32 team league is going to be able to one for one answer Pokemon like this. So it kind of puts you in the situation to be the more creative one and try to weave your way around a lot of these threats because it's like okay, well, Chi Yu's going to come in and is going to make it is going to eat up all if I don't. I need to somehow be a check for this Chi Yu, despite knowing I'm going to be at a -1 in special defense when I switch in, or something like Tapu Fini, which is not only a bulky water type, but one of the bulky water types. And if you don't have a consistent answer to that, then that thing can just going to sit in front of you and emote at you the entire time. So I think this is I like this team. It's compact. It's got a couple things that it can do to switch things up if it needs to. But I mean, with Pokemon like they've drafted, don't fix what isn't broken. You know.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely, and him being part of the Indigo circuit too. With mentioning that they have very inventive sets, while he will have probably a more centralized core and whatnot that he's going to be bringing to all these matches, they do have a depth of their pool. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he navigates all these Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah. You'll see. It's just another Indigo guy to keep an eye on.
Next up is the Dreaded Den Deathbats from our own player, Rich Boy CJ, back in Silphco territory. So CJ's really cool. He's been around for a little bit too. My very first league. I believe it's also his very first league, and he's he has an eye. I would say that if I had to summon up a word for how I feel about his drafts, they're a little bit eclectic. They have he has very particular visions and whatnot that he has in mind with his Pokemon. He's got things that he values in his Pokemon, and there are times where while he seems to draft towards lower tiers intentionally, he makes a lot of value out of them.
Yeah, no, I think, and again, this a lot of he's definitely part of the clique of the people who just like to cook in prep, bringing some interesting sets, some weird synergies, and just seeing how they fare. There and when they hit perfectly. And he's got a really interesting core. Obviously, you just have uh, Mega Sableye, who is a very can be a very difficult one to deal with. Mega Metacham is just an absolute offensive house. He also has a snow core built in as well. Baxcalibur, Vanillix, and Alolan Sandslash, who can all kind of take advantage of that if that happens to get set up. Yeah, you've got amazing support mons like Whimsicott and Tentacool, and of course someone who I thought at 16 points I thought Darko was kind of a bargain too. I figured that would be closer to an 18 or 19 point mon, but
Absolutely.
alas, there it is.
Yeah, Darkrai is one of those fast special attackers. It's like you think you have Darkrai under control until you actually play against it and you're looking at stats and you're like, oh wait a minute, this thing's a little bit more threatening than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Also, too, his mega game's pretty straightforward too, where in matches where he may value not bringing Metacham and not needing that power up boost, he can bring the Mega Sableye for the prankster into Magic Bounce combos and whatnot. Magic Bounce being probably going to be I think personally in general that ability is a little bit more in demand. I would love to see more Magic Bounce. It's a little bit few and far between, but that kind of stresses the importance of an ability like that. And Sableye being a bit more on the defensive side after it megas is a really good user of that. And obviously, though, when Mega Medicham shows up, like you're getting punched. You're getting punched. This thing has doubled offense and essentially 200 base attack after the mega and everything, and like it's a hard Pokemon to switch in on, especially with fake out and bullet punch pressure and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really good setup Pokemon across the board. Volcarona is a really fun one to see. Access to stuff like Defog, Quiver Dance, all that sort of fun stuff. I'm really excited to see. I'll be really excited to see how all these pieces come together for CJ going forward.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of he cooks up this week. This week one and what he brings to the table is going to be pretty interesting, I think.
Absolutely. Next up, the Lavender Town Roughhousers from Channeler Eric. He's actually Eric is the guy who invited me into the Silphco server. So I really big shout out and thanks to him for setting me on this draft league journey. And he's kind of taking breaks here and there, but whenever he shows up, he brings some very fun team building. His mascot being Mimikyu is another one of those that just kind of sat on the bench this time around. A little bit more focus on drafting some of the heavier hitters, as is evident by truthfully his first three. Marshadow being legal for the first time outside of something like the monotype league, and its incredible stats and its incredible signature move. Mega T-Tar is really good there with the sand setup and immediately getting buffed by the sand with the change to sand in like Gen 5. And Heat ran there to sponge up the special hits. Like I really like this core. I
Hmm.
think that those ones will definitely be coming to most of, if not all, the games.
Yeah, I'm a little sad because Heatran was going to be my third round pick, so getting it sniped 2 picks before me is a little upsetting. But I digress. I hope Eric gets all the mileage he needs out of Heatran, and then some. If only so I can feel worse about getting sniped. But you're right. This is another similar team where the same core four Pokemon are probably going to come to every single match, and then it's just kind of whatever 2 flex slots you have to kind of fill that team out or counter whatever your opponent is bringing. But I mean, behind the backs of something like Marshadow Mega Tyranitar, like that's a perfect way to calculate that extremely physically dominant team too. I mean, I guess you have Hydrapple as well, who can kind of sneak in on the special side, who can kind of sneak in some really strong hits and some potential sweeps if you kind of let it skate by or don't have like a fairy type or an ice type to just check it on switch. You know.
Absolutely, and thinking on that metric too, he has a lot of safe fairy defenses. The Heat Ran with the double defenses, the Nido Queen, and honestly, I gotta correct myself. Got a little addendum here. Mimikyu is his favorite, but this league his mascot is Gengar, which Gengar is priced low because there are two megas that were left off the board, and that being Kangaskhan and Gengar. So
Mhm.
Gengar is a little bit lower value because it does not have its Mega Stone, but Gengar is still a very very potent threat in general with its
Yeah,
really strong stabs and speed.
yeah, it's never it hasn't it's not the meta defining it's not the like meta dominant Pokemon that it used to be. Obviously, it kind of got nerfed when they took Levitate away, and then was like it's good when megas are allowed, but then its mega is a little too good. So
Yeah, yeah.
he's kind of stuck in a limbo of like still viable, but like for still being like one of the few Gen 1 Pokemon to really kind of survive the pseudo power creep that Pokemon's had over the years, and still be a very relevant Pokemon. Kind of just speaks to how always good Gengar can be.
Yeah, and gotta say, he's probably got some of the best budget pick here with this Ditto. I don't know if Ditto can copy Mega Pokemon, but it can definitely copy Boost Sweepers. Stuff like the Zacian and the Zamazenta and whatnot is definitely going to be put in check by this thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. At just 5 points to get effectively get any other Pokemon on the roster, that Imposter Ditto can really kind of like turn a battle on its head if you get a solid switch in, and even more so if you pack a Scarf, you revenge kill the thing that you copy, and now you're
I
like
know.
you said, someone's gonna have to stare down
I love you.
a
I'm sorry, he was
Deoxys
actively
or a
talking and I
Melmetal
didn't want
or
to.
some other big massive threat that and you don't ever really prep for your own sweepers, so.
Pardon. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I'm really excited to see what he cooks up going in. Next up, Strange House Slowpokes from our fairy tale girl Rizio. Last year he had a pretty. Last year I believe that SPDL 2024 was his first league, and he had a really strong dominant ice team that year, I believe. And looks like this year, yeah, it looks yeah, this year he's got himself a very interesting, I would say balance core here, with the Tinglu and the Cresselia on the slower side. Potential for trick room stuff as well as just kind of general slowdown with whirlwind and hazards on the Tinglu side. But he also has that Annihilate in the background, and Annihilate's one that is a Pokemon that can truly get out of hand if you're not paying attention or if you're not watching out for it with its Rage Fist boosts as well as the Defiant.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's. I think maybe even Rizio is a little surprised that both these Pokemon were around, coming back on 3 and 4. But still, with Annihilate and Archaludon, incredible Pokemon, newer gen Pokemon that can, again, like you said, can really just kind of take over a game if they're not checked immediately. He even has, excuse me, even has the potential uh, to bring out a lot of what our Archalon can do through even dropping. If he wants to run a rain dance on something, drop a rain, sit behind there, use stamina, the classic. VGC trying to compact that VGC style together. So uh, between that and I'll always speak highly of Melodic as well. I think that Pokemon is incredible. It has a very fun, unique role as like a physical wall with Marvel Scale Flame Orb. It's got competitive sets that it can use. Like it can serve a lot of purpose on your team, and it's I think it's a bulky water that has a very fun niche that I know I definitely enjoy using. It also has
Absolutely.
Chandelure, which is my most used Pokemon, and I think I've used that thing in at least half my leagues. I'm just like, oh, I need a big special attacker, and Chandelure's just always on the board when we get to that point in the time. So uh,
Absolutely. Yeah, Melodic's such a great budget pick for 10 points too, being able to do what it does, especially with Dragon Tail for phasing and Haze to slow down boost sweepers. And honest, I think it has a respectable speed stat too. For being a big Pokemon, it's got like 80 or 90 speed.
that sounds right. Let me see if we can pull.
And while you look that up, Chandelure is one of those Pokemon that I was looking at too. I really wanted to fire Ghost, and Chandelure was my first pick in my mind because I liked the Flash Fire for the switch in immunity and the kind of turning, literally hitting the Uno reverse card. 80 speed's pretty respectable too, and you can even run trick sets. But Blacephalon
Mhm.
kind of offered something else that I was looking for. So I'm really glad that Rizio got to pick up Chandelure because, like, while I didn't grab it and I didn't want it comparatively, I'm still sad because it's just a cool Pokemon.
No, absolutely. 81 is melodic speed, so
Oh yeah,
uh, yeah, so pretty fast to carry a lot of that bulk as well. I will say also Rizio had I think the latest pick for a Mega, getting Mega Camera up outside of like Buyer's Remorse, getting Mega Camera up in the final round of his draft. So Mega Camera up, I think one of those megas that of course if if you see Camera Up show up in his team preview, it's more than likely going to be the Mega. Almost certainly, I think unfortunately, and we'll get to a similar opinion I have of Pokemon in a second, where it's like you can kind of bring the spice of like, oh, I'm going to bring regular Camera Up, like what could happen, but it's kind of like why'd you spend 11 points to bring regular Camera Up to a match,
yeah, and
But
for a
but it still
Pokemon like
serves a lot.
that, yeah, for a Pokemon like that, like sacrificing 100 base stat total for something like Solid Rock it doesn't feel as beneficial for your point value. And Camera Up being on the slower side, it's probably what nicks at some points. But Sheer Force, even in the absence of Life Orb, still can do a lot of work on a special attacker like Camera Up.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. So we'll see. I mean, I feel so. Mega Camera is still great. Still a solid round out that he can bring, kind of in opposition to Chandelure. If Chandelure doesn't feel like it does quite enough as like that like big. I guess he's more of a I forget where Mega Camera stats get bumped into. If I'm being completely honest with you, but I mean, still like really solid stabs that can kind of answer anything offensively. If you feel like maybe Chandelure or Diggersby can't really bring that on their own, so you just don't have the space for both. You can kind of combine them into Mega Camera Up and just have him serve as the stab for both of those.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see what Rizio cooks up this year. And just like you did for me, I'll let you take away yours.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say this is pretty on par for what I draft. I love pivot offense teams so much. It's my favorite way to play Pokemon. There's a couple Pokemon that I've used. Obviously, I was able to get the mascot in Mega form for the first time, and so having that as like a really good wall breaker is gonna mean a lot. A lot of Pokemon I'm pretty familiar with and playing Pokemon over the years. Gliscor, Suicune, Hawlucha, Pokemon I've used pretty extensively. I like they were safe picks and good picks that kind of covered what I wanted. Chen Pao is a disgusting mistake of a Pokemon. I don't know what they were thinking when they made this guy. Being able to just like effectively outspeed anything that isn't scarfed or named like Regieleki or something like that and kill it uh, is ridiculous. I'm really excited to use this for the first time. I feel pretty good about what everything covers. I feel like I've got a pretty solid mix of bulk. I'm again getting Heatran and Snipe for me kind of threw my vibe off a bit. So I kind of have like I had to get my Steel type pretty late in the draft. but I still feel like
Right.
Registeel has enough that is relevant enough that it can still do I think what I need it to do for now. Um, I think Revambi is an amazing Pokemon too. Just it can has the ability to not only be a kind of annoying and just immediately set up hazards and force, especially sticky web, force somebody to answer the sticky web out of the gate, but also packing enough special attack that like if they send a bad switch on you, or if it needs to like nuke something before it goes down, like it has the ability to just like you know take 60% of somebody's health with a moon blast or something like that, go down, and then now you've got an easy revenge kill with your next with your offensive threat into sticky webs, right? So
Absolutely.
and if you want to if you any thoughts that you have, of course, more
Oh,
you're
of course. I think that you're Mega. I think that Ampharos is a really cool Pokemon, and unfortunately, it's just like its speed tier and the stats and stuff that it has is it's not. Unfortunately, it doesn't show out as much as it really should in
Mhm.
other draft leagues. And I think that it's one of the Pokemon that, especially in this draft league, gets the most love from getting to use its Mega. You have a secondary typing, which gives you a lot more resistances. So like things that would be neutral are now resisted, like especially fire, water, grass, and Ampharos is going to really enjoy that. And your special attack stats really it's really juiced, and especially having Mold Breaker, it's very handy
Mhm.
for stopping stuff like just those Volt Absorb Pokemon and whatnot, and those Lightning Rod Pokemon. They're not really going to have a way to stop Mega Ampharos from switching around. I really like your defenses. I think Registeel of all the Reggies is probably one of the best pickups you could have. Is on the defensive side, while the other from its original trio and Hoenn get really insane stats. I just think that for what type Registeel is, it gets the most value because it resists the most and it gets the best of both worlds. So you having that's really handy. In fact, I'm a little jealous. Suicune's a really cool bulky water type. It while Suicune is really neat and would probably love a little bit more on the offenses. I just think the defenses are so good, especially for pressure sets and like the pressure setups. Um, Very handy Pokemon. Really big fan. I think you also have stuff like Roar and Toxic and whatnot. So
Yeah.
like that Pokemon's going to be obnoxious to deal with. And Gliscor, I have a bone to pick with. It knocked me out of my playoffs last year. Poison
Mhm.
Heal being just genuinely so incredible. One of probably the best way to recover period in the game, and it having the stats it does, and a really respectable speed stat. Gliscor is always a threat. And really happy with Skeledirge. While you didn't get to pick up Heatran, I think that Skeledirge offers its own extremely unique
Mhm.
versatility in your draft with having Unaware. Unaware is really good because that thing really wants to set up, and that's probably its weakest point is that it needs to set up. But like, there's also creative sets to get around that, and like people or Pokemon that are setting up on the defensive side against you, Skeledirge don't care. Skeledirge gets the boost and ignore the other boost, so that thing can get really out
Right.
of hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty classic for what I typically draft. I'm just hoping that I had a pretty bad showing last SPDL, and really kind of been on a streak of like, uh, yeah, if in some of the smaller leagues of just barely missing on playoffs. So hopefully we can piece together a good run. Yeah, because there was a time, I came out when I first started doing leagues here with pretty solid. Like I think I had like 3 consecutive third places, and I felt pretty good about it. And then I haven't gotten even close to that since.
Right.
So we're gonna try and see if we can lock in and if Chen Pao can carry us to victory.
Absolutely, and the competitive pool is rising. And frankly speaking, like from the lens that I have of seeing your drafts, I think this is your best draft yet too. I just really like how well your pieces come together, and doing some light prep and all, and for our week 1 match, just kind of getting that out of the way early. I think your team's a little tough.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of cover a few different things here, and kind of uh, we cover quite a bit here, and just kind of seeing what comes together, what doesn't. It's I'll be in the weeks to see. This feels like a team where it's going to rely on me playing well to really get everything I want out of it, which I'm super excited for. So it's gonna not I feel like if I can play as well as I want to, and not I have a bad habit of playing poorly into like gimmicky sets or
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like Usually what derails my seasons and why I miss out on playoffs is like there's like 1 or 2 weeks that I have where someone brings like a really interesting like kind of gimmick or really interesting setup that I just like I don't play around very well and I get swept. So it'll be if I can avoid that, I feel pretty confident, pretty good about my chances. But we won't know until we hit the books. Luckily, you and I have to fight each other right out of the gate, and then we'll just see each other in playoffs, hopefully.
Absolutely. And the neat thing too, or rather, in that ballpark of getting swept by gimmicky sets, like this draft league being our biggest one yet and our most competitive one yet, it's going to require all of our players, new and old, to really dive deep into what the other Pokemon can do, and on the opposite side, and really do their homework. Because in our most recent league with the almost any abilities, I got swept by spikes and rocks being whirlwinded all game, and that felt really bad. But going forward into competitive leagues and stuff like that, you always got to consider whatever can come out of the Pokemon, and
Yeah,
especially
agreed.
in your own draft leagues and whatnot. For those watching, just kind of just practicing, taking your team sometimes on the ladder, or having a friend who is dedicated to building teams and helping you out and finding the holes in your drafts and the other drafts is always really handy. So this is going to be one of those leagues where that's probably the most important thing.
Yep, I agreed. Well, we're in the home stretch here. Only 5 more teams we got to look at. So
Absolutely. And we're joined by another guest here. This is our resident Pyramid King Hashira. We have not got to his team yet, but really excited to get to his team. Next up, though, another Indigo player. Dreamyard Destiny Bonds, piloted by the cute maniac Azo? Azoe? Zoe, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I butchered your username. But her draft is really cool. Mega Sharpedo was not on my bingo card of first picks, but Sharpedo is one of those Pokemon that's like you look at and it has interesting synergies between its base form and its mega forms, and really excited to see what it'll do, especially going from the speed boost into to Strong Jaw.
yeah,
And
I mean that's kind of that's what I think makes it a pretty fun design and a fun build around is you sit a turn in base torpedo, protect, get the +1 speed boost, maybe even a +2 if you're feeling uber cheeky, and then just carrying that into just some crazy like ultra powerful strong draws that not many Pokemon can take two of. Is it can it's a snowball Pokemon, and having a second snowbally Pokemon like Fluttermane to kind of complement it is crazy.
Absolutely. There's also an interesting. It's not at her forefront. There is a little bit of stall core here, mostly in the Clodsire with its unaware and its ability to. It's also its water absorb, which is really handy in some of those water heavy matchups, like the aforementioned Dracofish earlier. But
Mhm.
lots of defensive tools to really repel stuff like stall with the Magic Bounce Hatterene, the unaware Clodsire that can suck up spikes and come in comfortably on T waves and Toxics. Meowscarada is a really cool Pokemon. Personal favorite Pokemon of mine is among the starters. Really strong pivots, especially given that it gets Protean for the stab bug boosts and whatnot, and has really crazy speed stat. Fortress. Fortress is a really good budget Pokemon, I think, with really heavy defenses, sturdy to live some of the more crucial turns where a hazard is really necessary. Got rapid spin. She also got another aforementioned with the Paldean Tauros earlier, with the ability to use all the forms. So that's going to be a little bit of a guessing game, figuring out what hole she'll need to fill as far as her team building goes.
Mhm.
And Tornadus Incarnate, Pokemon I have a love hate relationship with. Uh, I can't really blame the guy. The guy does his best. He's a really strong legendary, truthfully. Really good stats and a really strong special attack. Unfortunately, kind of gimped by the accuracy of flying special stab being a mono flying. Hurricanes and whatnot. If you bank on hurricanes, it'll be a bad time. But Tornadoes can do some really interesting things with its prankster. It could even be like a really strong weather setter. Like it has access to all the weathers, and Prankster really not being able to stop that stuff. It really can turn a game. Like turning off sun for the photosynthesis boost mons, or cutting off the snow for these snow heavy teams. Maybe even setting up rain for the Sharpedo in the back. Um, Really cool stuff it can do. Um, I really want to say I heard some talk to the grapevine about this thing getting metronome, and that's not something I want to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like this team feels really solid. Feels like again, I like teams where like every Pokemon has their assigned task, their assigned job, and the core you can function around the core as you need to, and I think that um, I think that again for especially for a debut, it's an equal mix of spice and stability. Obviously, with the first pick, Mega Sharpedo. So, I think if you can build around a Pokemon like that successfully, if you can set Mega Sharpedo up for success, this thing's going to have 20 or 30 KOs by the time it gets back around to playoffs.
Absolutely. Next up, uh, not even our second to last. We have another Indigo player here, Aroma Lady KD8. They are representing the Dayton, the da- the Dewford. It hasn't been corrected. They are the Dewford Deoxyses. They are not the Dayton Deoxyses. But really interesting draft here. They were very adamant to holding on to some of these pieces and whatnot, and it seems like defense is probably one of the things that they're focusing on with this draft. Um, Landorus Therian is just a consistent mon. It probably will always be a consistent mon until there exists something that is literally, I don't know, the Landorus Therian eater. You also have the Deoxys defense in the back with the really really sturdy thick defenses, and I'm also really really looking forward to seeing stuff like the Politoed, Mega Swampert sweeps.
Yeah, I mean, Mega Swampert's inevitability. That Mon is just on the gas. I think this is and this is good too. It's not a full commit to a rain team, but like being able to like always have that flex into playing rain at any point is really really solid. Again, it leads into the fact that this team is difficult to prep for. If you don't bring an answer to a rain team, and they bring and Kid brings a rain team, then it's over. You probably if they're able to successfully get Mega Swampert and clean, you're done, right? Like it's just he's gonna flex on you, he's gonna liquidation you, and you're gonna die. So and conversely, the same too. They've got enough of a core here where between Landers T, Ogrepon Cornerstone, and even Keldeo without the rain, that if you lean too far into trying to counter the rain team, then you've opened yourself up to um, just getting picked apart that way too. So I think this is a good draft. You have there's a lot of diversity that you can build in these teams. So all it is from here is again just um, being able to play the game well of am I bringing rain? Am I not bringing rain? Maybe I'm bringing a bait to rain and things like that. So we'll see what KD8 can do with a setup like this.
Absolutely. And before we move on, on the brief subject of watching out for gimmick sets, I would say that we're leaning a little bit into gimmick here, especially seeing the Alcremie. Alcremie being one of the worst Pokemon to ever face in random bats, with its ability to not be status and its plethora of defensive boosting moves like Acid Armor and calm mind and whatnot. Stuff like that is, if KD8 puts you in a position where you aren't really able to break through, that's just GG. Like getting swept by the whipped cream. Got to be one of the coolest style points for a trainer, truthfully, and especially in a
Mm-hmm.
draft format where there is a lot of counters. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on here, and I'm really excited to see what they bring to their matches. This is what I imagine too when I think of the indigo sauce.
Yeah, no, I agree. We'll see. We'll see how often Alchemy is able to come to stuff like this, and see. Because I mean, like you said, if it happens at any point in the season, style points are definitely there. It's just kind of like, it's in a league like this. Do you take the prep? Do you run the risk of like committing to the fun sweep at the expense of like, oh no, I'm playing against a mega 2 600 base stat total bonds and like the greatest wall ever built. So
Absolutely.
we'll see if it happens. I'm here for it. But to say that there's still a really good team around this year, we'll see what KDA can throw together.
Absolutely. Next up, we have the Pearl Valley Spacebenders with Pyramid King Hashira, who he might be having some issues as far as sitting in the call.
I did. I think I muted him when he hopped in, just because sometimes he joins at work.
Yeah, I heard a
So
dog barking at one point, so I figured that maybe it was just an unideal time.
that might have been me. Someone knocked at the door here earlier, and my security system went off. But
No worries.
yeah, I mean Hashira kind of we were kind of talking about gimmicks, and Hashira kind of does that for the love of the game in his
Oh
leagues, I
yeah.
think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Hashira's strongest suit is he calls it crackpot game style, where a lot of his game plan is to really unassuming things. And during the draft night, he just started loading up on Mega Pokemon, which to a lot of people undiscerning, it's like, what is he doing? It's you can only bring one Pokemon, or excuse me, one Mega Pokemon to a match, and this is true. But I will say that probably does lend some strength to him during the prep phase, because he has four Megas between his team for his opponents to figure out, and I think he's got pretty solid Pokemon across the board with their utilities even out of Megas.
Hmm.
And even then, like they all have their own interesting, abilities to sweep. Especially with their multi-generational buffs and whatnot. Alakazam in a worst case, picking up like a beast boost off of somebody with a trace, or Heracross getting that really crucial trailblaze right before mega evolving, and then the pin missiles and whatnot tearing through teams, and Diancie being a really scary threat. But I think where he really needed to round out his team is these lower budget picks, like the Cobalion to cover for his poison weakness, and the you know even more of that what I was mentioning earlier with that knockoff defense core and whatnot, turning that stuff into a boost. Raichu is really interesting. I would say that the Pokemon that have me scratch my head the most, and I'm really curious to see what happens from them, is the Girder and the Mantine, because they're each utility mons, I think, because Girder is one of those ones where it's like, why does this thing have defog? So he has a lot
Yeah.
of he has a lot of utility in his back pocket there, and his draft is going to the larger part of the game plan of his draft is going to be which mega he brings and what they
Hmm.
do. But I think that he has very uniquely rounded out team, and it's one of those things where I think I'd have to really see it to get it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that and again, that was the only my only concern is like the trade off of like paying premium rates to have some of these Pokemon in their base forms, right? Because obviously you can't bring all of them in their mega forms week to week, so you kind of have to be like, oh well, I'm sacrificing that to just like have the flexibility of like, okay, I can bring any one of these as mega, but if the rest of these come, then I'm gonna have to bring them at their base form, right? And
Right?
stuff like is Altaria, Altaria minus the mega is probably like a 5 point mon, right, or 4 point mon.
Yeah.
Heracross is probably like a 10 point mon. Diancie is really solid. Alex Sam is really solid, and not to say that Altaria and Heracross aren't, but like
Yeah.
when you've got to round the team out, because I think he had what, two more megas outside of these, right? Like
I
he
really want
ended
to
the draft
say,
with
yeah, he had
six,
a Mega
right?
Gyarados and a Mega Bayonet before.
Yeah.
No, I remember he had
I
the
know
he had the, he had the Mega Gyarados,
Yeah,
certainly.
but still, like 5 megas out of the gate. It's kind of like how many points do you want to sacrifice before it's like, oh, I have to fill the rest of my team out, and the rest of my team is now
Yeah.
underwhelming compared to what's going on. But he had a pretty strong showing in league, almost any ability. So
Yeah, yeah, an undefeated league. So he's got to be feeling good. He's got to be feeling good about his odds. And honestly, this is a very confident draft here. While it potential. I was thinking during draft night this may have been something that was kind of like a keep away to take some of the crucial pieces away from other players, like say like the Mega Deontay and the Mega Alakazam, and then kind of recuperate later. I do wonder how that'll go as a strategy going forward because the free agents and whatnot, the pool of Pokemon has it's depleted. So if these
Mhm.
megas do end up not fitting for him, he's kind of stuck with them. I think.
Yeah, I think if they, I mean, he has to, if one of them decides, one or more of them decides not work out, he can at least turn those into like pretty solid picks. But unfortunately, again, it's like he's already at 10 months, so he kind of has to go across one for one with stuff like
Absolutely.
that. So we'll see. Again, he's coming off an undefeated regular season in almost any ability, which again I think was a league that definitely highlighted his strengths as a coach. So we'll see now that we're in more of a league where that, especially in a league where everyone has to be spread thin because of being 32 people, how he can kind of take his more showy kind of battling strategy, and see what he can do with it.
Absolutely. Next up, we have the Lacunosa Larvestas, piloted by the Glitch Trainer Delta, the original, the our first addition to our Silco community from the Indigo circuit, and his team's really interesting. His first show up and his only league show up with us so far has been last year's, or well, actually earlier this year's League of Bottom Barrels, which that league was focused entirely around leftover Pokemon from the big league before, and it ended up just kind of being the trash that was left over. Really fun league, but really piloted these Pokemon that were extremely unassuming to really great heights. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I've been curious throughout this year, and we haven't seen much of Delta as far as like gameplay wise in any draft circuit. So now that he actually has Pokemon that have power to them, it's like I want to see what sort of stuff that he is able to cook with a power floor that is more
Yeah, and I mean he's definitely, I think, to me, from what I know about Delta, because Delta's one of the few I've known personally outside of the league, and this is pretty on par, I think, for what he drafts. Dragapult's one of his favorite Pokemon. He really likes gaining advantage through a really hard to break defensive core, and then eventually just kind of like uh, finally bringing in the sweeper at the late game to try and clean up a lot of the damage that he's done, which you can see with like the Toxapex and the Azelf, which I think is also a very underrated defensive mon. But that's not to shy away from some of the offensive threats that he picked in Sneasler, and of course, like I said, Dragapult, Darmanitan can be a sweeper too, and Mammoth Swine too. I think can is, if unchecked, is an 11-point mon that can play like a 16-point mon. Uh,
Absolutely. And he's our first and only player that did not draft a singular mega during his draft cycle.
yeah, no megas on the roster, which again I don't think is a negative choice. I definitely think, especially being pick 31, which again for me it was like, I know when I went into this I was like, okay, a lot of the like really busted megas are going to be probably out of the way by the time I get to have my first pick. So going in with a strategy that, like, if there's not one like that left for me to take up, then I know that I can pivot towards other just really good non-mega Pokemon and just build a team around that. Especially when it comes to, like, at that point, if you feel like, oh, the rest of these megas here don't necessarily like can carry a team, and if you don't feel like paying that extra point bonus for them, then there's nothing wrong with shying away from stuff like that. So we'll see. He's got a lot of Pokemon that can hit you from different ways. It's all about, again. This seems like a very pilot-heavy team, so it's all about like making those right decisions when they matter to secure wins.
Absolutely. And I think looking at his draft, the big three I would call out, as far as like I'm expecting this to be the biggest headache for players, is actually going to be the first three with the Dragapult, Toxfest, and Iron Crown. Iron Crown having such a really cool defensive relationship with its types and whatnot, and it actually has surprising bulk. Like you can hit this thing with like a flamethrower, and it's like, haha, it's dead. No, it's not really. And in some of those booster energy sets, it can be a really obnoxious reverse sweeper, and it also has access to Calm Mind and Volt Switch and whatnot. So it can definitely take control of the board if you're not paying attention. And I'm really excited to see. I was we're thinking of like defensive cores and taking your advantages. And what better duo than Toxapex and Dragapult? Truthfully, with Toxapex being kind of stalwart and hanging out in the field with like Haze and Recover and even T Spikes, and then Dragapult's one of those. It being a pseudo legendary and having really strong offenses, while it is a typically a strong physical attacker. It shines more when it comes to its Ghost Stab on its special side, and like Toxapex setting up status for like Dragapult to get fast hexes off. That might just be the death of some teams, truthfully.
Yeah, Dragapult's just a Pokemon where it's like it's gonna win. You're gonna have to more than likely bring a Scarf to try to just straight out speed it, or bring really strong priority. The one weakness I think that it has for its speed is that it is weak to Sucker Punch. But again, it's still a very, like I said, a very good Pokemon that synergizes well with Toxapex, synergizes really well with like Sneasler too. Being able to like Toxapex and Sneasler can reliably spread status, and then you turn around into Dragapult, you turn around back into Sneasler to finish stuff off that maybe Dragapult can't. So, yep. Well, just like I said, this is a team that it's really going to shine if the prep is done well and there are good decisions made in battle to gain that tempo that you need. And if you can do it, then this is a really hard team. Even teams with like offensive juggernauts are going to have a really hard time trying to keep pace with.
Absolutely. And then shining or moving on to our last player, certainly not least in this draft, is going to be our player Specs Gastro piloting the Ultra Space Spectacles, and he's the final sixth member who migrated over for our big league. Was enticed by the prizes from the Indigo circuit here. I don't. I'm also unfamiliar with his style. Haven't played against him, but from Tales of the Grapevine says that he likes his stall core. I don't see too terribly much stall on this team. I do see some really strong defensive options. Like Celesteela is just a great rounded out Pokemon in its stats. A little over 100 plus in its defenses with access to stuff like Leech Seed. I don't recall if it gets Roost or whatnot, but Steel Flying is actually just really unique, really cool. And you have the Gastrodon for the immunities on and the immunities and resistances on the stuff that like Celesteela can't deal with, and you have lots of momentum with this team. Regenerator Pokemon such as Amoonguss and Cyclizar with that Shed Tail. We only have what two Pokemon that are actually in the that actually made it out of free agency onto these teams with Shed Tail. So he's lapping that luxury up, truthfully.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see because you couple that with Cyclozar can really set a good use of Shed Tail can really set a lot of his offensive Pokemon up for success, because a lot of these, again, being picked 32nd, there's pros and cons to being the last pick in a draft, but one of them being his offensive threats aren't necessarily ones that can come in and then immediately start like trying to push a sweep. Buzzwole, Espathra have need setup to do so, but they have really great ways to set up. Buzzwole having like bulk ups, Espathra with speed boost and stuff like that, and just a good handoff from Cyclozar into any of these Pokemon. It really kind of puts your opponent on a clock to be like, okay, I can't try to like pivot around and try to answer this. I have to be in a position already to break a sub now, or I'm going to be in serious danger.
Absolutely. And while we do have sound moves in the game, the sound moves are a little bit few and far between, especially for a draft like this. And uh, these Pokemon too, being behind a substitute, they really gain a lot. They really gain a lot from defensive and defensive play, and like utility, like Espathra getting a free speed boost turn with protect and stuff like that, preserving the substitute. Buzzwole is really neat too. I really want to say that Chan had it last year. I'd love to see Buzzwole be piloted this year. One of those Ultra Beast Pokemon netting a KO and getting the beast boosts. And this thing, I'm pretty sure, is also really stacked defensively. So a bulk up is just really solid for a Pokemon like this that has access to Drain Punch and Roost. Just there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on with this team, and truth be told, I don't really know what to expect here. But I really feel like the core is going to be, it's going to be some sort of middle ground between the defensive Pokemon and the Cyclizar.
Yeah, 100%. We'll have to see. Again, I think there's a lot of this is another team that can kind of like wear you down turn by turn, and before you know it, you're staring down a Buzzwole or a Spathra or a Mega Absol, and you're down one or two Pokemon, and everything that's left is just been kind of chipped away on. So we'll see. This is another team I'm going to try and keep an eye on, see how they kind of use being in a unique position of the 32nd pick. So, but to say that they're at any sort of disadvantage it isn't true. There's a lot of potential here, and it's going to be on Stexcaster to help lead the charge of the attempted Indigo invasion, so to speak.
Absolutely. And with that, that is all 32 teams with a draft analysis in the SPDL 2025 season. Um, I will definitely be I will be including a link to our friends over at Indigo as well as our own server. If you are interested in checking out any of what we do or what they do, definitely you're going to try and keep up some sort of recap of these matches throughout the weeks and whatnot between Conference A and Conference Z. We're going to be having 16 matches a week, so there's going to be lots of action to look forward to across these next 10 weeks as this league unfolds.
Mhm. Yeah, we'll try to put together some sort of week by week. We'll check out. We'll maybe review the results. Maybe watch a few replays. Give our feedback and kind of track things as they go along throughout the week.
Yeah, super duper excited to see all of these players go off. And honestly, at this point in time, it's the beginning. Drafts are settling. It could be anybody's game. I think everybody's got a pretty solid draft. All right, all right. And with that, thank you for tuning in. We will be keeping up with you next time. Bye bye.